All right, today we're diving into G.L. Fuentes' short story, A Letter to God. It's this incredible tale about absolute faith, some really unexpected kindness, and, well, a final twist that is just stunning.
Right off the bat, the story asks a huge question about belief itself. What happens when pure, unshakable faith crashes right into the messy reality of human nature? Let's get into it.
So our story kicks off in this lonely house, smack in the middle of a valley. And it's here that a man's entire world is about to get completely turned upside down. Let's meet our main character, Lencho. The story calls him an ox of a man, super hardworking, totally connected to his land. For him, this field of corn isn't just a bunch of plants, it's everything. It's the promise of survival for his entire family. And it just needs one thing, a good solid rain. And then, just like that, it seems like his prayers are answered. The rain starts to fall, and Lencho is just filled with joy. He's not just seen water, he's seen cash. The big drops are 10-cent pieces. The little ones are 5s. This rain, this is prosperity.
But just as quickly as that hope arrived, bam, it turns into absolute horror. That gentle rain transforms into a violent hailstorm. The life-giving new coins suddenly become these frozen pearls of pure destruction. What was a beautiful curtain of rain is now a devastating white blanket that leaves the field looking like it's been covered in salt.
And this storm, it's just relentless. For a whole hour, the hail just pounds everything in sight. And when it's finally over, the devastation is total. There's not a single leaf left on the trees, and that cornfield, the source of all their hope, is just gone.
Can you imagine? Standing in the middle of his ruined field, Lencho turns to his sons. It's just a moment of complete and utter despair. Their entire year of labor, everything they had worked for, was completely wiped out in a single hour.
But here's where things get really interesting. Faced with total ruin, Lencho doesn't give up. Instead, he comes up with a plan that is so simple, so direct, it's almost unbelievable. See, even though the disaster wiped out his field, one thing remained completely intact: Lencho's faith. The story tells us that in the hearts of everyone living in that lonely house, there wasn't just a wish or a dream, but a single, solid, concrete hope for help from God. So what does he do? Lencho, who knows how to write, sits down and writes a letter. He doesn't just pray in his head, he writes a very business-like request. He explains what happened and asks for a very specific amount, 100 pesos, to fix a very specific problem. And then he addresses the envelope with just 2 words, to God. Now, obviously Lencho didn't fill out a modern form like this, but this money order slip really captures the spirit of what he was doing. This isn't some abstract request for a miracle. For him, this is a transaction. He has a need, he's stated the exact amount, and he has sent his request to the only authority he believes can actually fulfill it. So the letter's in the mail. And, well, obviously it's not going to make it to its intended destination, but its journey is far from over. It's about to land in the hands of some people who are going to have to make a pretty big choice.
Okay, so a postman is sorting the mail, and he finds this letter. He's never seen an address like "To God" in his entire career. He starts laughing his head off and takes it straight to his boss, the postmaster, who also just bursts out laughing. But then something shifts. The postmaster's laughter fades. He taps the letter on his desk, and he's suddenly just overcome with admiration for the sheer, unshakable power of this farmer's faith. And in that very moment, he decides he absolutely cannot let that faith be broken.
The postmaster gets this incredible idea. He's going to answer the letter himself. So first, his mission is to preserve this man's faith. To do that, he asks his employees for donations. He even gives a generous chunk of his own salary. He hits up his friends, calling it an act of charity. Then he gathers all the money, puts it in an envelope, and signs it with a single powerful word: God.
So we've just witnessed this amazing act of human kindness, all done to protect one man's faith. You're probably expecting a pretty heartwarming ending, right? Well, this story has one last, very sharp twist waiting for us.
Okay, so let's just remember the numbers here. This was the specific amount Lencho requested, 100 pesos. Enough to replant his field and feed his family.
But, despite their best efforts, the postmaster and his crew couldn't quite get the full amount together. They only managed to collect 70 pesos, so a little more than half. And this gap, this 30 peso gap, is about to become a very big deal. The following Sunday, Lencho walks right back into the post office to check if there's any mail for him. And the postmaster is watching from his office, feeling that quiet satisfaction of doing a good deed, totally expecting to see a look of pure joy and relief on Lencho's face.
But here's the thing, Lencho isn't surprised, not even a little bit. His confidence was so absolute that he fully expected God to answer. For him, seeing money in the envelope wasn't a miracle, it was just what was supposed to happen.
And that confidence instantly flips into pure anger. He counts the money and sees it's only 70 pesos. Now in his mind, the logic is unbreakable. God is perfect. God would never make a mistake, and he certainly wouldn't have denied the request. So if the full amount isn't here, somebody else must be to blame.
So he immediately grabs a pen and writes a second letter. In it, he tells God he only got 70 pesos and asks for the rest. But, and this is the kicker, he adds one very specific instruction. Don't send it through the mail because the post office employees are a bunch of crooks. And that is the final devastating irony. The very people who performed an act of selfless charity to protect his faith are now accused of stealing from God. It just leaves you wondering, right? What's the value of a faith that makes us completely blind to the goodness of the people standing right in front of us?